So what we're going to do today is kind of sort of spitball. Like if we had all the money and the control, like what would our dream superhero projects be? And we're not going to sit there going like an excellent Superman film where he does everything awesomely. He has the shorts, and there's definitely Luthor and Brainiac because you got to have both. And, you know, we're not going to do that because obviously I Want a Great Superman movie is not really where we're going with this. It's like personal faves or some kind of thing that we're like, ooh, you know, it would be cool if. So we're going to we'll gather in spitball and blue sky what we would like to see or what would be awesome to see as superhero fans in film or television. You want to kick it off?
Yes.
I know one that you were like last night you were on I was like, what if that? And I was like, I've heard this before.
Yeah. This always comes to mind whenever I think about possible DCU projects because he was my favorite. In addition to Superman, he was my favorite DC character when I was a kid.
That's so interesting. I do love him. He's great.
Yeah, because it was a new title that was running at the time. Back in 1982, they brought Firestorm back. Firestorm is the character I'm talking about.
Yeah, Fury of Firestorm. Great run.
The Fury of Firestorm. This was his second run. The first one was in 78, which I discovered at the time. I didn't know him until that one debuted.
And then he was in the Justice League. But yeah, I remember that Pat Broderick art. That was good stuff.
And I saw, I didn't, I kind of stopped reading comics after I got into high school because this is when I was, 82, I was in junior high.
Because you were cool. Yeah, I mean, you were really cool, man.
Well, I discovered guitar. I was more interested in music for a while. But I was really happy to see in subsequent decades that Firestorm did remain a popular character because I loved him. I just loved the whole idea.
He's a great character. He's a great concept.
Yeah.
Good look.
Over the years, I realized that today, when I finally had time to sit down and refresh my memory on his origin, for some reason I had in my head that Martin Stein was his high school teacher. But he wasn't. He was a Nobel Prize-winning nuclear physicist who works at this facility.
Oh, right. It's just that he's there on a field trip. That's right.
No. Raymond is trying to impress his girlfriend and joins this, just because he's trying to impress his girlfriend, he joins this
protest.
Like a terrorist group who are breaking into a nuclear facility.
Yes.
Something, things go wrong. Right. That's when the explosion happens. And by the way, if you're not familiar with Firestorm,
Ronnie Raymond,
high school student. He's a football guy.
Yeah, he's a decent guy, but he's like a jock.
Yeah.
And not stupid, but not the smartest guy in school.
Right. And then he gets fused into one being with a Nobel Prize winning physicist named Martin Stein, who exists when they're in the Firestorm form. Martin only exists in his head. He's depicted as this floating head.
He's depicted as a floating head. Luckily, no one else sees that.
No one else sees that.
What I think is interesting about Firestorm, and you would put this in your project, I'm sure, there will be moments where he's literally talking to midair.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't do that much in like Justice League. It'd be like, who the hell are you talking to?
Yeah. It would be like Quantum Leap.
Yes, exactly. When he talked to Al.
Yeah.
It's a great concept. And what's also great about it in a weird way is that you do have, you brought up an interesting parallel because we were texting about it and you're like kind of thinking of a Marty McFly and Doc Brown thing, which is obviously the comedic and, kind of take on it. But obviously the idea of two people who have little in common.
Yes.
And yet they grow to appreciate each other. And one of them is older, mature, has a head full of incredible science. Reason that's important is that Firestorm has one of the potentially most powerful powers in all of comics, which is molecular restructuring. He can literally just, a missile comes at him, he goes poof, and it's a flower that falls out of the sky, and it's actually almost too godlike, but they never really go there. The trick is he has to know.
He has to understand the science.
He has to understand the science. He has to understand what he would be making.
This is why I think it would be such a fun movie, because it would be this underlying, support for science education, which is something my father was. My father was a Nobel Prize winning scientist who was very passionate about science education.
There you go. I do understand why you would have a personal connection to it too.
And which wasn't why I loved the character at the time. He was just a really fun character. And plus I was a teenager at the time. Ronnie Raymond was a teenager, anyway. I really wanted to dig out my comics. I have them. They're in my closet now. I have a lot of the original issues of the Fury of Firestorm run, and including number one. We have number one.
He has fire on his head.
Yeah, yeah, and like this really kind of disco, crazy
It is
outfit.
very of its time, but I actually don't mind the design. I've always liked
glam rock. Yeah,
it's kind of glam rock, but I like the way they're doing the atomic symbol.
Yeah,
but they're doing it centered. I mean, Captain Atom has literally an atom, right there on his chest, which is it's on the note. But Firestorm, they've kind of moved it over and made it more graphically interesting. He does have
pretty cool
pointed shoulder things, which is very 80s, very, Nightcrawler's got the pointed shoulder things and all that sort of deal. He's awesome.
So there was another thing I could have dug up, which I didn't have time to, but I love Firestorm so much that I wrote him my own version of Firestorm into my own stories that I was drawing at the time.
But at least you didn't say I wrote him. I thought you were about to say I wrote letters to Firestorm. No, Dear Ronnie, hope things are good.
Dear Firestorm, why are you so cool?
Dear Chad, thanks for asking. I was just born that way.
I had my own canon of characters in my stories that would be recurring characters, and it was me.
Yes.
Me, I would appear
of course,
but I would appear as myself, and then my pets would all have their own personalities and talking animals.
You made a funny animal universe with your own.
Yeah. So in my comics universe, it was basically a blending of DC and Marvel characters, my own versions of them. So there was Super Dog.
Yeah.
Fast Cat instead of the Flash.
Yeah. You really were doing Captain Carrot and the Zoo.
Yeah, essentially, which is one of the reasons I loved Captain Carrot when it came out, but I was already doing that before Captain Carrot came out. But my version of Firestorm was basically a blending. Instead of Ronnie Raymond and Martin Stein, it was me and my dog Jen becoming this one. And it was when in Firestorm form, it was Jen with this flame coming out of her head.
One thing I really need to stress for our listeners. This is not what Chad would be pitching to a studio today. Wouldn't you want to make this a series more than a movie? Because I think a series you'd have more time.
Possibly, yeah, I think so.
For their relationship. Also the learning how to learn.
I misremembered Martin Stein. I thought that he was a high school teacher. I think it would be actually really interesting because in the original origin, they don't know each other before they're blended, before the explosion happens. But I think it would be really interesting because I was thinking about, obviously, the Back to the Future connection. The Back to the Future happened years after Firestorm was created, but there is that kind of dynamic of a high school student and a brilliant scientist being bound together by these strange circumstances, if not fused into one body.
Yeah.
But I think it would be cool to still keep the origin of Ronnie Raymond being a jock, but a noble jock. Like kind of, I'm kind of imagining like Randall Pink Floyd from Dazed and Confused. I mean, that kind of character where he is a jock, but he's the guy who protects the underdog. He's got heroic qualities already.
Yeah, but you would also see him smoking pot while Free Ride is playing.
Yes,
I want to take a free ride.
That's part of it. That he is a bit of a stoner and disaffected and not really focusing. This is my idea that he would be. Martin already knows him as his teacher, and he sees that Ronnie has potential,
some potential
that he is good at some science, but he's not taking his talent seriously enough, and his future's kind of iffy. Martin relates to him; he sees himself in him, right? So when the accident happens, they're not getting along. Basically, like Ronnie kind of resents before. You've got to have some tension between the two of them, or else the blending of them is not going to be as interesting. So that would be really cool. Is that they both have issues they're working out. Like Martin. My idea for this, I was thinking about this morning, like when I realized, oh wait, he wasn't a high school teacher. But maybe, what if it is a field trip? Like you remember, what if it is a field trip that Martin arranges to go to the lab where he used to work, but he's now a high school teacher. Work. You know what I mean? So it's his science they're doing. Yeah, that the experiments are based on his science, but he's not involved in it anymore because of some mistake he made.
Also, they've probably cut corners.
Yeah, because he's not there, right?
I mean, so instead of it being a protest terrorist kind of thing, maybe it's like an accident, and Stein's like, I told them not to, that kind of it's like, oh, they screwed it up.
It could be so much fun.
I agree. That character would be, you're going on the same lines as I was when I was thinking back in the day of projects to pitch, or I actually wrote the scripts. It was because there are so many comic characters, but what you need, and what I would say the MCU has done very successfully, is they should all kind of have their thing. They can have different tones. You've got to find the hook. And the hook of that is that connection between those two people that's unique in comics. And also, again, the teenager thing has been done. Obviously, Spider-Man's the prototype of any kind of teenage superhero. But Ronnie Raymond's a very different guy.
Just briefly about the Arrowverse version, I was absolutely freaking thrilled to finally see Ronnie Raymond and Martin Stein together on the screen. And it was those episodes where they're introducing him. I was so excited.
Yeah.
But it was disappointing that because of the low budget of these shows, Firestorm never really had his real powers from the comics. He just flew around and shot fire blasts at people.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
But you can't really go wrong with casting. Why am I blanking? As Stein. What's his name? Love that guy.
Oh, Victor Garber.
Victor Garber. Thank you.
Yeah.
The great Victor Garber. And I was like, great choice.
Victor Garber's awesome.
The best.
By the way, I didn't realize this till recently. Does his run in the Godspell musical?
Oh, yeah. Where he's 70s? Wearing the big S on his chest. Because
I saw that it popped up on YouTube randomly, and I was like, that guy looks familiar. I was like, oh my God, that's Victor Garber.
Victor Garber, actually, even now, Victor Garber primarily, though he's been in all kinds of TV shows and movies, but he's still primarily a stage guy. He came up in Broadway and in musicals. Awesome. But yes, he wasn't served too well. That is TV budget. That has nothing to do with it. And
same thing happened when we had Starfire on the Titans show. Yeah. They did the same thing with her. It's like they couldn't really do her real powers.
Yeah, I
mean,
anyway. The thing that drove me crazy about a lot of things drove me crazy about Titans. The whole thing is like, we're gonna change the characters up, and you're like, well, I wish you wouldn't, but but the whole thing of, I always liked the idea of like X-Men, where if you've got these powers and you're a mutant, a few of them can pass as normal humans. But I'm like, Starfire is an alien princess, and in the show, she gets those green eyes, but only when her powers are kicking in.
Yes,
and I'm like, well, she always has them in the comics, and the same thing with Beast Boy, with Changeling. He's always green, and in the show, he's a guy with green dyed hair, like a cool punk guy, and he only becomes all green when he turns into an animal. I'm like, that's kind of cheating, guys.
And he only turns into a tiger on the show.
Didn't he turn into something later at the end? Like, he did develop a second shape, but I guess Green Tiger was the best that they could do with their budget. Again, I'm not slamming the shows. It's just that's a thing where you go, kind of disappointing. What are you going to do? Okay. Here's where I tell you, these are old. We'll trade back and forth. These are old ones. I'll get them out of the way. In early 2000, 1999, 2000, when I was in LA, I did have a manager for a little bit. I've said that before. And she was trying to pitch my stuff to various production companies. She did try to get Green Lantern to the Joel Silver production company because he owned the rights at the time. And they said, yeah, we have the rights. We're just not going to do anything with Green Lantern. And she's like, why? And I told you that story. Didn't I? Lorenzo de Bonaventure, who was the head of Warner Brothers at the time, had a not so flattering opinion of that superhero. He didn't like the ring. He said it was too, and please bleep this, but F slurry. Too is what he said the ring was. Yeah.
So come on.
And like, yeah, like what? So yeah, they weren't going to do anything with it. But she's like, to me, my manager said, why don't you pitch them some stuff? Because the CW was on its way, and they're like, Smallville's already going. So what if they decide to do other characters for TV? And so she had me come up with pitches. I didn't do full scripts. And these were the ones that I literally sat down and thought, these are great characters. TV would suit them. Budgets would be a little bit more scaled down. And so my pitches were Zatanna was one. She's great. And, DC's magician heroine. And it works in literally like Vegas, and she's a celebrity magician, but she actually has full on powerful magic skills. And it was going to be, I was kind of pitching it as, which is very much of its time. I was like going, it's like the single working gal trying to get her shit together kind of story, where she is saving the world from demons and stuff, and she also has to deal with the mysterious disappearance of her magician father. But it's like almost Ally McBeal, but with magic. I mean, I didn't actually say that, but I was kind of pitching it that way. That was my take on her. One was Captain Marvel, who I refused to call Shazam. And I was like going, because again, the great Hook, which is still there, even with the movies they did, and they didn't do him very well. The first one was, it was weak, but it was okay. But yes, the gimmick is great. It is literally the 11-year-old who becomes a full-grown adult with all these powers. And it's wish fulfillment thing. I wasn't going to make it too light, but I do think that one of the strengths of Captain Marvel, he was always meant for younger readers. Superman was actually more serious, and Captain Marvel had a talking humanoid tiger best friend, Mr. Talkie Tawny. I mean, it was so I was going to pitch that as like a young viewers show that adults could also enjoy. I did realize, like, yeah, you're still going to have flying effects and stuff like that. I was like, that's one probably I'm not going to have much success on, but I could see the tone and I knew exactly what I was going for. Another one was, and I still like this one a lot, Hourman. Not Golden Age Hourman, but his son. And of course, he'd have to fudge because Golden Age guy is from the 40s. His son still would be very old. It'd be like, grandson? Great-grandson? Okay. But they've done him in the comics, and I'm not inventing this idea, but the idea of a superhero whose entire power only lasts an hour is awesome because you could do a 24-like thing with him. But also the idea that it's a drug and it's addictive. And I was literally going to have him kind of a hero that is self-destructive and very much like a drug addict who's still trying to do good, but he's literally addicted to the source of his powers. So that was going to be a pretty grim show. I was like, pitch this to HBO instead, because I think this could be awesome. And since his powers are really just strength, speed, agility, that kind of thing for an hour, effects would be pretty doable. And, you know, he's got the timer, it's like ticking it down. And obviously he'd end up in situations just like in the comics where it's like, oh, shit. The villain is still up and swinging and is about to pull out his big weapon. And I have 30 seconds of power left. That kind of stuff. Love it. But those were the ones that I wrote little pitches of. And I literally did try to look those up last night because there's a document somewhere that I'd written up.
Oh, cool.
Couldn't find it. So I was like, oh, I'll throw those in. So those were pitches back then. I still think Zatanna and Hourman would be awesome choices. Call me. But anyway, back to you, Chad.
This is the other thing I think would be really fun. I'm just going to say that. I'm going to say the 4-letter word this time.
And he doesn't often.
Legion of Superheroes, man. Legion of fucking superheroes.
With all the money in the world, hells yeah.
Yes.
Hells yeah.
But lean into the future campiness, the Jetsons kind of crazy.
Yes.
Future
lean
tech,
into that. And the
colorfulness.
Teen soap opera, melodrama stuff, which literally that should be a series because, again, and in a Buffy way, but set in the future, and these people all have bright, colorful costumes. But the reason the Legion of Superheroes lasted as long as it did as a comic wasn't because of their powers and all that stuff. Is because the writers very clearly, even back in the 60s, are like going, oh, this is our teen soap. It's about who's dating whose heart's broken, who sacrifices himself for the greater good, who is mocked because of the lameness of their power, like Bouncing Boy or Matter Eater Lad or any of that stuff. I love that stuff.
And here's the best thing about them. Their hero was Superman.
Well, yes, was Superman, but they actually knew him as Superboy.
Well, they traveled back in time. They met Superboy, yeah. But which they're not going to do in the DCU, most likely.
Another spec that I wrote. This isn't just about stuff I've written, but there will be a lot of it. But anyway, again, when I worked at Warner Brothers as a tour guide, and Smallville was still on the air, I wrote 2 Smallville specs. One was called Farsight, and it was about him developing the telescopic vision for the first time, and then putting glasses on. And it was my attempt to go, at that point on, he'll wear glasses, so establish that secret identity thing. But also, the second was called Legion, and it was my attempt to do a TV of the early 2000s version of the classic Superboy meets the Legion, keeping it within Smallville TV show. In other words, he's not Superboy, but there are 3 mysterious teenagers who show up, and they're like going, "Hey, Clark, you did a really good thing saving those people." And he's like, "Whoa, how do you know what?" Hi. And it's the whole thing. But the one thing I do include in that episode is a dog that keeps following him around because he's never had a dog in Smallville. And he bonds with the dog, and at the end it turns out he was actually the 4th Legionnaire. It was Chameleon.
Oh.
Like he morphs back, and he's like, "Sorry, I was keeping an eye on you the whole time." And that episode also included Rip Hunter, Time Master. So the Legion comes back, and they're like going, "Our technology is actually built on what you started here, Rip Hunter."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Wow, cool."
I never saw that. I think they did do the Legion in Smallville. I didn't see those.
They did eventually, but I never watched it.
Yeah,
because I'd already written mine. I was like, "I'm good."
I don't know if it's any good or not, but
so yeah, Legion. I get it, man. That would
be
awesome.
So cool because you could have their own movie where they're introduced, and then of course in the future they could use time travel to actually join forces with the Justice League or whatever is going on.
Yeah.
So
well, you could just keep them as future storylines, but they refer to stuff that had already happened, or at least they have glimpses. I mean, obviously, Superman would have to kind of go, "Wow," and they're like, "Yeah, this is all because of you, dude."
And we talked about this before too. I don't really want them to do this, but I just love that the origin story is so goofy. Composite Superman, where his origin is goofy as hell. Superman, at some point, the Legion gave him the gift, which is like these miniature figurines of them, which actually are imbued with their essence. So the qualities they gave them, their superpowers, are actually in these little figurines.
By the way, if I ever give anybody something that's imbued with my essence, I just apologize right now. I would just like to apologize. You love Composite Superman. You do.
So he gets some weird accident happens where he gets all the powers of the Legion of Superheroes. Composite Superman does.
Yes.
He can switch between them. And his costume is 1/2 Superman, 1/2 Batman for some reason.
But also with green skin.
With green skin. Yes. It's so great.
It is the most, and I will actually now say, no, never make that happen. Hey, Hollywood, Legion, yes.
But
don't let that happen.
The thing with the little figurines is the thing that cracks me up. It's like, who thought that up? This is the goofiest origin ever.
I just gotta say, especially in the 70s when the youngsters were coming in, the old guard who had been there since the 40s were literally getting elderly, and the young hip folks who had literally been counterculture hippies in the 60s, and they come in and they're the new breed. They're all smoking pot, man. They're all just coming up with the craziest nonsense. They're like going, it'd be awesome. No, listen. It's like Superman and Batman get smacked together, and no, get this, the green skin. And it's not just they have Superman powers, it's Batman smart. He's a superheroes, all the powers. Which is actually very much like Amazo. I always loved Amazo. What a great character. Android that can absorb any and has the powers of the full Justice League. So anytime you use a power on him, he absorbs it and can use it back. Even like, Black Canary, Sonic Cry, or whatever. So the first story is obviously, it was all just to get Green Arrow in the league. It was because Green Arrow has a non-replicable power. And he's like, I'll take him out with arrows. Awesome, dude. Also, he absorbs the weaknesses. I think they're also like, and Kryptonite. Yeah, he absorbs Superman's powers, but he also has his weaknesses. Oh, that's fine.
Speaking of androids, I think it would be great. I love Red Tornado. I would love to see him brought in.
Reddy would be great.
He's really, his character is really cool on Young Justice, by the way, the show that our friend Chris Jones works on.
Yeah.
Really great portrayal of Red Tornado.
They essentially took, because he was also the mentor figure in the Young Justice comic, even though that was the different characters. It was Superboy and Robin and Impulse, but they were using him in the same way, where he's like sort of exasperated older father figure, and I love it.
Yeah, it's great.
I like that. They copy each other all the time, DC and Marvel. Vision. There's a lot of great android characters in comics that the whole storyline, similar to Data later, like in Next Generation, is all about humanity and them like trying to find real connections. Marvel has Machine Man and the Vision, both the same thing, where it's like, I have emotions. You know, it's like, I know it's weird. I don't know if I have a soul. And Red Tornado in DC is full on in his comic, in his storylines for the JLA. It was about him trying to build a family. Like, he adopts this girl.
Yeah.
He has a girlfriend who cares for him, and he can look like you, Chad. Basically, his human disguise is like, I'm not red anymore. I look like, you know, a handsome bald guy walking around. But I love Red Tornado. That's another gooder.
And this reminds me of something else that we.
All right, I'm ready.
This is already in canon with the DCU.
I am ready.
The Metal Men. I forget the name of the scientist who creates him, but we see him in Creature Commandos.
Doc Magnus. Yes.
It's revealed in Creature Commandos that he studied GI Robot at one point.
Yeah,
probably leading up to his research that creates the Metal Men.
I love the Metal Men.
Come on,
that would be great.
We know it's in canon, so that would be a period piece if it happens, because I think that was in the 1960s when that occurred. I think. Oh
yeah, Metal Men are full on late 50s, early 60s.
Yeah, so I think that's one that happened in Creature Commandos too. That was at that point in a GI Robot story.
Though obviously, because of the sliding timeline, Doc Magnus is still a youngish or middle-aged guy in DC Comics, and the Metal Men have only been around for like 5 years. Technically, Of course, canonically in the comics, it was way back when.
Yeah, it looks like maybe that's what Gunn would want to do. Go back in time with that.
The
story.
fact he included him is great, and maybe that would be a period thing. Some of these I don't. I think keeping them in period would be kind of awesome. Like, I mean, they wouldn't do it, but here's a Marvel one that I would kill to do, and it would need to be, I guess it could be a movie, but I would love to do it as a series, and that's Longshot, also from the 1980s. Longshot, I like best. No offense to the X-Men fans out there, because Longshot eventually became an X-Man. He was on the team, still is, various versions of the team and so forth. He dated Dazzler for a while. I mean, all kinds of stuff. He's a great character, but I prefer him from his original miniseries, where he was part of the Marvel universe, but he didn't join a team. Once he joined a team, I was like, oh man, he's not as special as he was. The gimmick was essentially he is a mutant who has essentially a luck power, similar to what Domino has, and they included her in like Deadpool 2, which was awesome. But the whole idea was he comes from another dimension. He comes from the Mojo verse, which is all run by Mojo, and it's like all reality TV. It's a commentary, and this is even in the 80s, and Mojo runs this universe as like everyone's being filmed all the time, and Longshot has never really had a life because he's been this character who's been forced to basically go through death traps and all kinds of stuff, and and he's like a popular media figure, but he's wanted to escape, and he ends up escaping to our dimension, our universe. Still has his powers, and then Mojo sends like agents into our world to get Longshot back. And Longshot is like Candide. He's literally a wide-eyed innocent when he gets to this world where he doesn't know anything, and he's kind of sensitive, and he's very much like a Marvel version of Scott Free, kind of like Mr. Miracle. But and he ends up with an Earth girlfriend in the original miniseries who's a stunt woman. So again, they're constantly doing things like movie making and That is such an interesting take. Once he becomes an X-Men, he becomes a little too much just standard Marvel hero guy who hangs out at the, Xavier School for Gifted Youngsters and has girlfriends and all that. And I'm like, I just prefer how weird and funky. The X-Men would occasionally go to Mojoverse. I mean, they had plenty of like interactions, but I was like, I liked him on his own. Says me. So he's one I would definitely do and try to keep it like early 80s. I would try to keep that aesthetic. I mean, he's a superhero with a mullet, but drawn by Arthur Adams. It actually looks pretty cool on him. And he's, I think, the first of the heroes, because X-Men did this for a million years. So many characters with one shiny eye, like Cable has like got that lit up eye. Nate Gray, X-Man, same thing. And I'm like, well, Longshot had it first. He's this one like star, like bright eye. Anyway, he's one I would do. You don't know who Longshot is?
No, I never heard of Longshot.
Oh, he's great. Yeah. He's great. Look him
So
up.
You're saying that Longshot would be a long shot?
It's well,
Sorry.
here's the thing. With the way they keep expanding, he'll probably show up at some point. MCU's all in. We'll get him.
So the other stuff that keeps coming to mind, this is why I wish I had more time to do research. We only came up with this idea last night, y'all.
You don't have to do research, man. Just feel it from the heart.
The stuff I really want is stuff we know is already in development or was in development and it's on the back burner now, like Swamp Thing. Swamp Thing was going to be a James Mangold. And I think that's
I
just
think
on
it's
the
still going.
It's still going. I think it's on the back burner right now because Mangold had too much stuff going on with the Bob Dylan movie and all this other stuff he was working on.
Man, he probably loves Chalamet so much. I bet that's our Swamp Thing.
No, and the Titans.
My name is Dr. Alec Holland. Oh no, chemical burns. Swamp. Hi, I'm Swamp Thing.
Around the same time that the Fury of Firestorm comics were in their run in 1982, one of the other big DC titles was the New Teen Titans. And I loved those comics. I had all of the annuals and the special editions. They had the origin editions for each member had their own origin issue.
Yeah.
Oh, it was so good. It was such great stuff.
I mean, for the new characters. Well, no, Beast Boy got one too, and he wasn't new, but he was pretty obscure.
He was the Changeling at that point. They called him the Changeling, which I love that. I like that name a lot better than Beast Boy.
And I will give the TV show Titans credit is that they had the crossover with the Doom Patrol TV show, which was also weird and funky and cool. Garfield Logan, he's like, they kept that origin. He goes back, he's like, I know these guys. This is where I kind of lived. And, it's like, yeah, this is the Chief. Yeah, he's a little bit insane, but he put us all together.
I thought the Changeling was a much better superhero name.
So it's better.
When I had my, actually, no, I didn't have my version of the Changeling. I had a different character called Alter Dog, who was an alien.
By the way, I had an altar dog at that sports arena that's also a church. I had that altar dog from the concession stand. It did not sit well. Anyway, what I think that the New Teen Titans is amazing. Everyone loves it. However, it will never be in the form that we love it best as again. And in a weird way, due to the popularity of
those characters,
what came later.
Cyborg,
of the cartoons. The wacky cartoons, the idea, even when Titans came out and they were leaning into the new version of Raven, like from cartoons on where she's gothy and has like purple hair. And I'm like, look at that George Perez art. The whole idea was that she looked sort of East Indian, beautiful and mysterious, no weird skin tone. She wasn't a goth girl. She was basically a spawn of a demon and a priestess, and then protected in a whole thing. I won't get into it. But I was always like, oh, look what she's become. And now that's what everyone accepts her as, and that's the only way she's drawn. They will never go back to like classic George Perez version. And I'm like, that's a shame.
No, yeah, I mean, we've seen.
Yeah, we're old nerds too. It's that thing of like, I remember when she was cool.
I think. James Gunn is obviously a big fan of the old stuff, and this is a big point of contention with people who don't like Supergirl, that they're expecting the more recent version of her. Right. And he's done a blending of the original origin with the edgier Tom King.
When you can, version. I don't see that there's a reason not to. Yeah. Because that way you're giving everybody something that they can recognize and enjoy.
And Superman's aesthetic is way, as he told us beforehand, is way more Silver Age than it is anything else. So, yeah. I'm
down for that shit. Yeah. And you'll never hear me complain. Well, you'll probably hear me complain because I do a podcast with Chad. But anyway, so here's the thing. All right. Here's one. By the way, I know we're talking a lot of DC. Currently, for Marvel, the two I would pitch them, I've actually written the scripts. Call me, Feige. Sorry, I should call you Kevin. We're friends. Kevin, give me a call, because I wrote a script for Tomb of Dracula. And that I kept in 1970s, which is when the comic was out, because that way also it wouldn't interfere with whatever their plans for modern day supernatural Marvel movies or TV shows. It would not impact like their Blade movie, because I set this in the 70s. Loved Tomb of Dracula. Loved all the supporting characters they created for the Dracula character, and he's in the Marvel Universe. So I wrote a pilot script for that. It's good, says me. I wrote it. And that's pretty recent. And the other one that I've actually written is Paste Pot Pete. And we've talked about that before.
Yeah, it's come up.
He's not like a favorite character of mine, but it was almost a challenge of me thinking, how could I create a series? Both of these are for TV shows, not movies. How could I create a series set in the cinematic Marvel universe that's about the worst supervillain they have, like the most goofy, stupid one with the dumbest name? And I came up with a take. And he's actually somewhat likable guy and will use his powers eventually for helping people, or his powers, not powers, his equipment. But yeah, Paste Pot Pete, like the idea of a schlub. I was like, I want to do a show that's about the least cool guy in the entire Marvel universe. And I liked my script. It's funny. And it has Silvermane, which I was a little disappointed when Spider-Man came out. I was like going, well, I'm keeping with the comics version where he's 102 years old, Italian guy, and he's also going to have his brain transposed into a cyborg body, which they did that in the comics too.
That's the cool thing about Spider Noir is those are all alternate universe versions.
Oh yeah, where you're like going, okay, that's their take on.
It doesn't affect anything. Yeah,
fine,
it's cool.
So, but we are focusing on DCU. Here's one I haven't written a script for, and he has been done in live action, but I didn't like it, and that's Adam Strange.
Yes.
Adam Strange, Man of Two Worlds, and the take I would do with that. Oh, it would be so good. The take I would do is similar to what you were talking about with Legion of Superheroes, which is I love the idea of a man of two worlds. So if he's in our world right now, or the DC world of contemporary time as an archaeologist, but not like an Indiana Jones guy, you'd be realistic with it. You know, he's like a realistic archaeologist, and he gets transposed to a world that is straight out of like Flash Gordon. That's the thing, is keep that Silver Age aesthetic. And not that it would become comedy. It would be him looking around himself constantly when he's there going, I just can't believe this is where I am. Like when he's suiting up for the first time and putting on a rocket pack, he's like, it's a rocket pack. You don't understand. You know, like this is I have a ray gun right now. You don't understand how weird this is. I love the idea of the unlikely hero. I mean, he's a nice, heroic guy as an archaeologist, but he ends up becoming a world savior. And it's sort of like Last Starfighter, kind of in a weird way. But the whole idea would be he finds his place, only it's the most ridiculous, you know, green skies and purple mountains and all that stuff. And literally people zipping around and with rocket packs and stuff. And him just going, wow. And then, of course, he meets the local princess, falls in love, and that, you know, all that stuff. So Adam Strange could be such a fun thing. Fun. And I would pitch that could be a movie, but I would also, I mean, they want to do a series again. I'm ready. Call me. So another one for you, maybe?
I think I'm tapped.
Oh, one last one. Again, DC. And I'm still surprised it hasn't happened. Back in LA, when Robin, my brother, and I were doing fake radio, which was like 1940s radio shows on stage, and Robin actually suggested it. This was his idea. He's like, what if we did adapted Starman? We're both huge fans of the James Robinson Starman, as anyone with a brain who reads comics should be. It is a little dated. It's a little early 2000s when you go back and read it, but it is so good on a dramatic level, smarts, and it ties in with so many obscure things in DC lore. So I adapted the first issue of the comic as an audio drama, and found out that there wasn't enough material in the first issue to be like a half-hour episode. So I got to add scenes, like flashback stuff. I was like, ooh, I am writing stuff, adding to what James Robinson did. But I still think to this day, DC wake up, and Gunn would have to know and love the series. It's like, do that as a series. Starman should have been a full-on series because it's already there. It's on the page. You don't have to make it smarter. You don't have to make it cooler. It is. James Robinson knocked that thing out of the park for a huge run. And what's even better, he had an end in his head. So he got to wrap up his series and basically tell DC that is the Jack Knight story. And Jack Knight still shows up occasionally, like in the backgrounds of things. And Stargirl, it's like, oh, yeah, you want the cosmic rod? All right, it's yours. There you go. I mean, he still ties in, but you don't see him a lot. Like DC just went, yeah, that's his whole story right there. I would kill to see that realized as a series. And again, yeah, call me. So, guys, we hope you enjoyed us blathering on about in the 80s and 90s comics. Cool.
And tell us who you want to see in the DCU or Marvel, whatever else. But, who have you not seen on the screen that you want to see? Or who do you want to see done better than they've ever been done, in your opinion?
Yes. And I will say one of the reasons we didn't bring up a lot of Marvel, even though I have ideas, is that the MCU, though they are pulling back on it a little bit because of some failures, what they see as failures, like the Eternals, not fair. They're not doing it as much, but they have served us pretty well. They've given us so many of these obscure characters. We had a Werewolf by Night special, and we're going to get another Werewolf by Night. I'm like, I can't believe Jack Russell.
Yeah, Man-Thing.
We got Man-Thing full on. We got giant size Man-Thing. I still love the fact there was a comic that was from Marvel called Giant Size Man-Thing. And I am going to start doing a t-shirt that is just the logo from the comic, where it just says Giant Size Man-Thing, and let people wonder. But anyway, so they've done well. DC is still opening up, and there's so much stuff there that it's easy just to go down the rabbit hole. So in other words, tell us your ideas. And I mean, you could say like, well, I just want a Flash done right. I mean, that's fair. Absolutely right. But I challenge you guys to pick the underserved who have a great concept or great look or something that we've slept on for too long. It's like there are so many. And I think, when you really nail the uniqueness of one of these characters, they find their audience. Or they disappear into the nether regions. But anyway, let us know your thoughts. And again, if you guys are friends of either James Gunn or Kevin Feige, let them know that you know someone who has some really good ideas. All right. On that, talk to us, and we will talk to you later. Yes. Bye, Peace Apps.
Bye, Peace Apps. Until next time.
They give donut tours of Portland. I wonder if the donut tour guides all get diabetes within like a year.
It's probably required that they do.
Yeah, it's required.
They're constantly getting called into the office.
Your diabetes numbers are low, Jones. Why aren't you more diabetes?